Lennox and Parker viewers, fans, readers, and all of the above. This is Crystal Jordan, your editor in chief, and it is time for another culture conversations with Crystal. And today's conversation is specifically for my women out there. You all may know that I had the pleasure of going to Jackson, Mississippi, and hanging out with the ladies of Belle Collective. The new season is back. We are back in season 4, and let me tell you, there is so much that has already happened with this show. Carlos King referred to it as the most underrated reality show on television. And I believe it is, because so many of the issues that these ladies are dealing with are things that we are all dealing with. And we get a chance to see them going through changes and growing and maturing and celebrating wonderful things, and then also dealing with challenging things. And it's all the things that we understand. And so today's conversation is going to be about a conversation that so many of us women have not wanted to talk about, have not known how to address. But finally, I think there has been a shift. And specifically, today's guest is leading the charge and having the conversation about the dreaded menopause. So please help me welcome the beautiful Belle herself, Aikisha Holly Cologne. Welcome to Culture Conversations here on Lennox and Parker, Aikisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I know I didn't get a chance to chat with you because you had to leave. I came to the premiere with Carlos and all your wonderful co-stars, and I was having a conversation with each of the ladies. You had to leave because you had to fly. You're having this long distance bi-coastal type relationship with your boo thing.
Well, so no, Crystal, I want to apologize for that. It didn't have anything to do with my boo, honey. He's here. No, my son was having a procedure on that Wednesday morning. So when we found out the date of the premiere, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to be able to be there because there's no way my 4-year-old is getting anesthesia and I'm not going to be there. So anyway, the time ended up working out where I was able to fly in that morning and fly right back out so I could be at my son's procedure the next morning at 9 a.m. So that's why, but I was on the last flight going out of Jackson. So I was not missing that flight. So I want to apologize. I love talking to you. You are absolutely amazing, and always look out for your girl. When I'm like, hey, Crystal, I know you got an event going on. Can your girl get in there?
So, yes, my essence crew. You guys come out.
Part of the Essence crew now, right? This is like my third. Okay, good. So anyway, I apologize for that because listen, you know, my children behind that man, they all number one. So I had to get out the door so I could get home to my baby.
Absolutely. Well, you looked beautiful, and we definitely, I mean, I'm surprised you even made the premiere with the 4-year-old in anesthesia. I'd have been like, you know what? Y'all can see me another time. But that's part of juggling and all of that. But I want to ask you this because I had a chance to ask each of the ladies what was their definition of a Southern belle. And I would say, just from your co-stars' definitions, it seems like the idea of a Southern belle has transitioned a bit, into a modern version. But with you, I know that just from what we've gotten to know about you on the show, you actually were raised, you referenced, your grandmother and just family that you had around you that raised you really did teach you those old-fashioned Southern values. So I'm interested to hear what your definition of a Southern belle is.
Well, you actually just said it. Only thing I transitioned is that a lot of people thought about like Gone with the Wind, classical, white, Southern, that type of belle. No, I'm from that because there are beautiful African-American Southern women that still are instilled with the tradition of being just a classy, respectful, beautiful, and it's to me, it's all in in your mannerisms. It's how you carry yourself. It's your character, the values that you bring and that you share with everyone. I've listened to different people give their definitions of what a Southern belle is, and when I think of a Southern belle, I think of my grandmother. I think of how amazing she was in her career. She was an RN. She was one of the first African-American nurses to integrate the VA hospital. But then I think of how she was as a wife, as a mother. She left 12, 14-hour shifts and still came home and prepared meals for her family, for her husband and her children, made their clothes were clean and ready for school. A lot of people feel they can't have both. And I actually watched an interview about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago of two highly respected friends of mine. And they were going back and forth on their podcast. And they were saying that, they decided they had two choices to either follow their success or to follow love. And one of them said, well, all of my girlfriends and everybody I asked, they said that it was more important to follow love. But this particular person found that it was better for her to follow success. And I'm listening to this and I said, why can't we have both? Because, I don't know the ins and outs of my grandparents' relationships, of course, because I'm not supposed to know that. But what I saw was a woman who went through segregation, fighting to be educated, fighting to educate her children, fighting to be respected in the workplace, where she was literally saving lives, but being called the N-word at the same time, because she had veterans who were coming back from war and still coming back being disrespectful, same set of where we were in Mississippi at that time. And I looked at her deal with all of that, but she continued to pour into her children. She poured into my grandfather, into her family. So for me, that's a traditional Southern Belle. And that's what I try to bring into every situation I'm in. That's what I try to bring to the show. And that's who I am.
Yeah, I think so. I love the fact that you referenced that history, because I think a lot of times as we're transitioning, and I know the world looks very different than it did when our grandparents were alive, as far as women having so many more opportunities. But I think a key thing that you said to me that sticks out to me is you said, I didn't know the ins and outs of their relationship because I wasn't supposed to. And I think that's a big key. Like, I think a lot of times we see people are oversharing, and then they're upset when the repercussions of that oversharing come. I also think, just from my definition, and I was a kid that was obsessed with like the whole idea of this, sophisticated woman that went to finishing school and understood how to sit correctly and all of that. And I think that is lost. I think cursing each other out and throwing, it's just not the definition in my head.
I will give you a little bit of just personal, it's exclusive on me, which a lot of people don't know, because unless they're in my family. So when I've shared on this show about being adopted internally by my dad's sister, and I came from two different worlds. I come from two different worlds, if you want to think of just like the lifestyle, the culture. And I remember when I first moved from my biological mother's house, with my sisters and everybody, and I moved in with my grandparents and my aunt. It was a culture shock. I mean, I had discipline on both sides. I mean, like my biological mom didn't play games on no day. But at the same time, we lived in, we moved from Fair Street from Verdon Addition, Fair Street to some apartments where, we were living our best lives. And I mean, we were a product of our environment, even though, my mom and my sisters did what they could to make sure we had what we needed, but we were still living in, I don't want to say projects, but, that's how I was living. I went to public school, which was a very poor public school in the city of Jackson. So getting back to when I moved, I started going over with my grandparents. My grandfather was an educator at the highest level. My aunt who adopted me was a physician. She was doing anesthesia at the time, first Black anesthesiologist in the state of Mississippi. I'm just giving a little background because, people always say I got to break down, but I have to let you know where I came from so you'll understand why I am and who I am and the reason I am the way I am. So imagine I'm coming from that. We're over here getting to the morning, listening to Al Green and cleaning up and doing whatever. Over here, I'm watching the news. My grandfather is reading the newspaper, sitting. It is quiet in the house, girl. They are reading the newspaper, reading books, and they are making me sit down and watch the freaking news. You know, time I watch the news as if we were something happened in our projects. We were trying to see if we knew the person on there. So I go into this world, and it was she sent me to a class, and it was called White Gloves and Party Manners. So going back to what you said, it was white gloves and party manners. And they taught you how to set the table. They taught you which fork went first, how to put, where your knife and spoon was, how to drink out of a glass, all of these things. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I wanted to be out on the plane cussing like my friends and stuff. But when I think of that now, and how when I left the school that I was at and I went to Catholic school, where I went from an all-black school to where there were not many blacks in school in my class. I went from having no car to watching people drive up, in like roll, like it was absolutely just blowing my mind.
Right.
But today, I can literally go from the crack house to the White House, and I have done that.
And
yes. So it's like when I think of Southern, I put all of this together because don't get it twisted. My mother lived a different lifestyle. She was still a Southern woman. So my sister and I, to respect ourselves, said, "You do as I say, not as I do." And it was the same teachings that I was getting from my grandmother, who was very conservative. She was quiet. She lived a certain way, and she expected you to act a certain way. And a lady is and she used to always say, your hair is your glory. When I cut my hair, Lord, I thought my grandmother was going to die before her time. Because, like those are the type of things. So I had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the fans of the show get confused, because they'll be like, oh, she acts like this and she thinks she's this and that. But then she did whatever. Well, listen, I am who I am.
Yeah. And I think all of us are a monolith. And I think so many of us in the African-American community do have those stories of being introduced as the generations have become more progressive and more educated. You have this like polarized community where I had the same example. I grew up with my mom. We were struggling, but then I would go to my uncles and they would introduce me to different things. And I went, so I totally get it. And I think a lot of us, have that experience, but it's interesting just to hear how the definitions of what is acceptable and what is ladylike, and how that is different depending on your your upbringing, and who was giving you your teaching. So I'm glad we had a chance to have you answer that. All the ladies on the show. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, but when you do bring or introduce those things, it comes across as you're thinking you're better. No.
I think, again, that depends on the person's perspective that's hearing it, because I think I can see, with you, it's obvious that you were exposed to something and you want more for the community. And I think if you're suggesting something that, that is, of a different way, that doesn't necessarily mean you think you're better. You just want better for all of us, just like I think
I've seen both sides of it.
Absolutely. I think Letitia is a good example. Also, she may not have had the same upbringing as you, but it's obvious that she really wants more for the ladies. She wants everyone to get along. She wants everyone to act more a little ladylike. And that seems to be a little bit of a challenge, on the series, especially this season. We see that there's still conflict. And I think, as Aikisha takes a sip of water, there's still conflict. Let me just ask you before we get into, because I really want to talk about this menopause journey, because I think it's so important. It can help so many women, self included, right? Yes. But wondering, with Letitia, the show being, I didn't realize that the show started kind of with Letitia's love for the brunches and female empowerment, and then seeing how that is so difficult, to kind of get all the ladies on the same page. What are your thoughts? We see Latrice and Marie are like the focus of the polarization of the group is just like those two are not going to come together. But Letitia's trying very, very diligently, believing that, you know, this is bigger than us and we all need to come together in order to really, you know, show the world that women can work together. Where do you fall in that? Do you think it would be better just to leave those two alone and let, you know, Selena and So Gucci do their thing? Or do you believe that the women need to come together to work on a common goal with the brunches?
Definitely. I don't think it needs to have anything to do with any brunches, because that's neither here nor there. Secondly, Teresa and Marie are not the issue. You can't bring people together when you won't even admit your own involvement in what is actually happening, what's going on. So it's hard for the ladies to come together when they're not trusting the person who is trying to bring them together. You know, I'm not going to speak in extended. I'm not going to talk much about this. It's being shown on the show. The issue is not Latrice and Marie or Tamara and Marie. We never even got past the issue between Latrice and Letitia.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to move forward when we're talking about things that people are saying that you've done, people are saying that you've said, people know that you've done and said. You don't want to talk about it. You want to move forward and move on and bring everybody together. Well, like I said, nobody's going to do that when they're not even the person who's trying to bring them together. So I think there are deeper issues here that the audience is on and off camera, and the audience sees on camera, but things that happen off camera as well is what I was trying to say. And so I feel like take accountability for your part in actually what's happening.
Well, I think that's the definition of leadership. If you're trying to lead something, you have to lead by example, by taking accountability, acknowledging, and then moving on. Last question on that before we move on. A couple of seasons ago, Letitia said something that was extremely hurtful, and I felt like it was very below the belt when it came to you. And I'm not going to repeat what she said because it was very disgusting, but she referenced your upbringing and
being born into a family that did not want me.
Yes. And I wonder, did you feel, because that was hard for the audience to watch, and I felt like so when I was watching this season, I was like, did Aikisha and Letitia ever like have a conversation, and really did you feel like she understood the heaviness of what she said and how hurtful that could be for other people? I mean, my husband is adopted. I that's just a very horrible thing to say, and then to say it on camera is even more hateful. So I just want to know what you think, and how were you all able to move forward, if so?
Well, for me, it shows character. And going back to the question you just said, now, was I able to move forward for the betterment of the show? Absolutely. Did Lynn and I have a conversation? We did talk about it. She apologized to me for what she said, but it was because, well, you said hurtful things. I remember her saying to me, I shared with you on the phone about something that one of the other Bells said with her about being insecure that really hurt her. It was you came and you threw that back in my face. No, I was seeing traits of insecurity. I didn't even remember the conversation she was about, but oh well, okay, that happened. When we were having the argument during that sistervention, that's what I began to see, because you're throwing things out at me. You're telling me what Tamara said. You're telling me these things I did. You're telling me that I was acting better than you, or I'm acting like this. And I'm like, no, I've never come in here act. That's your perception. That's your insecurity is what I said. And I would have said that to anyone. I've never come here to give to any of you saying Aikisha is better than you. All I told you, honey, was my plate was dirty. I didn't even think that was going to take wings and fly.
Yeah.
But like I said, you were at the premiere. It grew wings. It started to fly, and that's when I realized I was going to have to clock in for the show, because I didn't understand how the show was running. When we got in that suspension and we were going back and forth, and I'm hearing the banter, But when she said that was, I saw who you were. I saw who you are. And so of course, like I said, we moved on. We had conversations. I really wanted to try to, build something, because on the surface, I mean, she's an amazing person. She talks a good game. But even when I am upset, I mean, I think about it in a relationship, in my marriage, in a friendship, like there are certain things
you just don't say.
I would never say. So that know how you truly felt about me, and also know who you really are. And people can say, I remember when Marie and I were discussing it, and Marie was just like, well, when you throw smoke at somebody, you can't tell them how to back. That's different. I mean, yeah, we can throw jabs all the time. It's just like in boxing. But when you hit belt, that's foul. That's a penalty.
Yeah.
That can also get you thrown out of the ring.
That's true.
And so I just it stuck with me. And as we go through the season, and everybody knows that the finale is a huge finale, and people watching, I'm not going to give it away, but it goes down, and she was like, well, when you said you've been waiting for me or something, because we have it's the things that happen. And I know exactly where that came from when I said that, because this happens, my mind went all the way back to what you said. And
I don't think anybody would ever forget that. that was I guess it was below the belt, definitely below the belt, and hurtful. And like I said, there's so many other people. When you say something like that to someone on this show, because you're on television, there are a lot of other people that are in that situation that it could be hurtful, exponentially, right? Not just to that person. So I just wondered that, but I want to move on to your storyline this year, because like I said, it's definitely affecting me. I felt seen. I was like, oh dear, because things are happening, and I'm like, what is going on? And I think because women today, we're so modern. You try to keep yourself up, so we don't really see ourselves. 40 today doesn't look like 40 in the 60s or even the 70s. It looks very different. The 40s be the 40s, and they are the same thing. So I want to play this.
30s, but your body is feeling like the 40s.
Your body is like, but this is what it is. So I want to play this quick clip of you, and then let's talk about your decision to share this part of your personal womanhood journey with the audience here at Belle Collective.
My husband has been very supportive of my menopausal journey, but in reality, he does not know what the heck is going on, and he always thinks I am so dramatic. So in order to keep from killing him, I tell my husband, just shut the hell up, deal with it. If I think I'm dying, then oh well, damn it, make sure I don't die. It was hard.
That was hilarious to me, because I would like to say that he is supportive, but I don't think men know what is going on. I don't think we know what is going on.
Yeah.
So
no,
let's talk about it, because I think I was surprised about you because you have young children. So I'm like, Aikisha is, she's not at that point yet. So hearing that, it looks very different. Everyone's journey is very different. So let's talk about, when did you first realize that were you perimenopausal? What happened to make you pay attention and realize, something's going on here?
Well, that is the thing. I literally went from fertility to flashes because I was going through a fertility journey, and I've shared that on the show. And just a shameless plug, Willie and I are actually writing a book on our love story, becoming parents. So it's through this book, though, I really realized it's been a crazy last 10 years of my life. Because when we realized that we were having issues with me holding pregnancies, and something was going on with my ovarian reserve, my FSH was always high. It's just crazy. Now we're being able to correlate that with what's happening with me now. So I had my children in my 40s. So I think I'm on time with it. But looking back, when we first started trying to conceive and we were having the miscarriages, I was in my late 30s. And if thinking my body, excuse me, was trying to throw itself into menopause then. And I was having symptoms, but did not know. And not understanding, I mean, even at the highest levels of medicine, fertility medicine that they were giving me, I was still only dropping 1-2 eggs. When most women who was taking the amount of medicine I was taking, they were retrieving 15, sometimes 30 eggs. So I had my son, after all that I went through on my fertility journey, I had my son at 42, natural conception. I had my daughter at 43, natural conception. So I am excited. I am a new mother. I am happy. I'm trying to deal with, I'm kind of like having twins because I have a 1-year-old, a newborn, and, I'm going through, I'm 44. And then, so it was a great year. Getting used to being a mother. 45 is coming, and I'm like, maybe my body is trying to get back. I had 2 C-sections back to back. I'm giving all of these excuses of what is happening. Mind you, we were in the COVID era. I had COVID. So it was just, I'm like, well, maybe is this what they call long COVID? Is something happening? Like, why am I feeling, getting anxious? Why am I, having these heart palpitations? All these things are happening. So I'm going to the doctor. I'm getting tested for COVID. I'm getting tested for flu. I'm getting tested for everything, not knowing what is happening to me. And I was not having a cycle because at this point I had an IUD. So that had stopped me from having a cycle. But I'm getting hot at night and then I would be cold. I'm having headaches like crazy. And I'm trying to deal with, and now I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm filming this crazy show and dealing with after I had my daughter, when I started the show, my daughter was 4 or 5 months. So yes. So I have a 1-year-old, a 5-month, 4 or 5 month old. And I am, I'm getting dizzy sometimes. Then I was like, I know these bitches not stressing me out like this, like I'm really trying to figure out what the heck is happening to me. So I don't know if you remember last season, we had JJ and Gucci had like a little drive-by sort of health situation where they had a health van. The girls were there. We were all out dancing and handing out stuff. Okay. Well, they had a mobile health truck out there. Okay. One of my family members was working on the truck as like a CNA or something. They were taking blood pressure and different things. And so he comes over and he's just like, we need to get some more people to come on over the truck. Why don't you come on over here and get your blood pressure checked? So I said, okay. Girl, I go in that van. I'm glad they didn't. Well, we ended up talking about it later on the show. My blood pressure was high as hell. And he looked at me, and the lady was like, oh, no, let me do it again because I think maybe you just nervous. Wow. So he does it again. Blood pressure was up. Still, I'm like, well, maybe I'm stressed out. Willie is, not here. I'm all these, what you saw me on the show saying it, I'm down here in Mississippi by myself. I'm, it's hard with the kids. I'm giving all of these reasons of why all of these things are happening to me, my anxiety, whatever. Get back. So we go through again. And then I really felt like I was having a heart attack. My joints were, my arm was hurting. Like I said, I was having the heart palpitations. I was having panic attacks just too often. I told Willie, I said, I'm going to go to the emergency room because I do not feel right. And I do know that Black women, a lot of times we miss the signs. Right. A lot of our signs they're more subtle than other genders and other ethnicities. Races, right. Yes. And so I said, I'm going to the emergency room. Mind you, I ended up going to the emergency room 3 different times because every time they would be like, oh no, your heart is fine. Your blood, your level, your blood work was good. And so I called my OBGYN, Dr. Norma Ray Lane. And she was in Africa at the time. And I said, Dr. Ray, I said, I don't feel right. I said, I went to the emergency room. I said, my heart, I'm having heart palpitations. I went through all of these symptoms. And she said, Aikisha, I want you to come by my office. She said, I get back on Saturday. I want you to come by my office on Monday morning. She said, I want to check your hormone levels. I said, no, I'm telling you my heart. Listen.
Forget the hormones. Focus on the heart.
That's why we love our Black doctors. I said, Dr. Hey, girl, listen. I was like, no, my heart, my arm, I feel, like sometimes I get dizzy. My head is hurt. She said, be in my office on Monday. I want to check your hormone levels. Well, I went to her office and she said, it's exactly what I thought. She said, you started menopause. She said, I think, but this is before we got those numbers back. When we got the numbers back, my level at the first was like a 59, almost 60. Now, when you go and check the numbers where you are, anything over 25 starts perimenopause.
Oh, you was well off into it. Yes, you was off.
No, she said, I want you to come back again. I want to check these again.
Okay.
I came back on that Wednesday. It was still the same week, but I came back. My level was at 117, my FSH. So that's why when you heard me say, like, I'm not only menopausal, I am postmenopausal, because that's where those numbers were. But I think now, as I'm educating myself and the numbers are fluctuating, and I had not had a period. So she took the IUD out of me. She said, lay back. I need to take this IUD out. Because basically, the IUD was putting progesterone in me so it could suppress, pregnant. But with my FSH levels, it's progesterone. So it was suppressing any estrogen that my body was eating a little bit, it was trying to produce. So
which
that's
why you to have like the mood swings and all of that. Yeah. Wow.
All of these things. Yes. So after we took that out, honestly, the day later, I felt a little bit better. I mean, I could feel the difference, but my levels were still high. Just like, Ray, I don't want to have any more kids. I do not want to get pregnant. And she told me, she said, Aikisha, as high as your levels are, I'm not worried about you getting pregnant. And I was like, wow. Okay. So
those babies came when they were supposed to come. Those babies got here.
What you can never tell me about. And I mean that, like, he is faithful and he rewards people. And that's what we talk about in this book. But I thought it just took me back over my journey from Willie and I starting to my urgency came out, my mother died. And I was 36 years old, and this was in 2014. So you have to think of, we started in 2014, like the end of 2014, 8 miscarriages. And I didn't get pregnant with William until 2019. And I had him in 2020. So in between 2014 to 2019, it was a journey. And so now, dealing with this menopause journey, I've come to learn through Dr. Ray and just my research, the track is on your mother, your maternal side. And when your maternal mother started menopause, or your grandmother, and I don't have her here, nor my mother, to ask these questions to. So that's why when you saw on the show, when I said, I have to prepare Holly, and Willie's like, she's like, too. I can't, I have to prepare Holly for this journey, because I am an older mother. I have prayed and asked God to see my daughter well into her 40s, but it's his choice and it is his destiny. So I want to begin to teach her about these things as soon as we hit puberty, because I want to be here and I hope to be here. I have faith that I will be here. But if God says different, I want her to be well prepared and know what to do when these things start happening to her, because I had no clue. I was absolutely lost. I called my sisters, we all have the same mother. And my sister did tell me, she said, it was around 46, 47. She said, it may have been closer to 48 for me. She said, but all of that. I was able
That's
to just really sit with her.
Yeah, that's so important. I think that, one of the main takeaways I'm getting from this conversation is that we have to have these conversations with our daughters, with our nieces, with our we this conversation, and even on a public platform, because there's so many women who may not have that, right? So I have a
Right.
girl, one of my girlfriends, she lost her mother when she was in high school. So
Mm.
she would have no idea, because that's definitely not a conversation that most of us are having at that age.
Yeah.
But this is a wake-up call for us to start having those conversations during puberty. I'm working with an organization, and I'm gonna DM you later on today, because I want to send you some stuff. But I'm working with an organization that's basically promoting women to start having these conversations, daughter, grandmother, mother, like having these generational conversations early, and preparing our young women on how we should be eating properly to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, how certain foods can affect certain things, how birth control, like you didn't your
Yes.
with your IUD, you wouldn't have known what exactly your body was doing, because something was put inside to help you from getting pregnant again, could be throwing those results off. So I love the fact that you're on this show that has a predominantly female audience, and you have this message that is just basically a wake up call to us as moms. My daughter has just turned 30. So I need to, I definitely need to be having this conversation with her. But
You do not have a 30-year-old daughter. Oh,
yes,
listen, honey.
I started early. I had my daughter in college, but that's also not something I was thinking, definitely not thinking about that then. And even when she went through puberty, I was still so, I mean, you just that's not something that we always are thinking about. And I think it's really important. So I just appreciate you sharing this, because up until recently, I've seen Holly Berry and different women have been talking about it publicly. We did not really have conversations about this with women, because women are supposed to be young and beautiful by all costs. And like you said, a lot of times we're so focused on the outside that we not paying attention to what's going on with our bodies on the inside. So it's so important.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say, because I've gotten the question so many times. Everybody's like, why did you know, talk about this on a reality show? You never ever hear people, the women talk about these things on these shows. And I said, that's exactly it. Because, we get to a certain age and we want to, make sure we're looking good on TV. We are, looking young and all of these things, but nobody talking. I mean, a lot of the women on these shows are of age, and they're going through these. And sometimes I wish, when I sat down and watched some of my favorite shows, that they were talking about it, because at the time I didn't know, when I was getting ready to go into menopause, that I wasn't going to have my mother to ask, and so because a lot of us turn to television to get our information and look to role models and get examples. I felt that it was important for whoever was watching me, that I was getting and educating them on
Right.
things that we need to know. And that's been my mantra throughout this entire process of being in reality television. I don't mind entertaining, but you have to allow me to educate.
There you go.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, I think, like you said, a lot of television entertainment is based on external. So you see people Photoshop and an AI, and but the body is not responding to any of that. The body is
No.
still the 50-year-old body. You could put the plastic surgery on, but that's the case. And most importantly, these are issues that women are dealing with that they need help with. So we need to have those conversations. So again, we applaud you for doing that. You have to come back. You and Willie have to come back with the book.
Whenever you want me, I'm always here. Thank you.
That I love the fact that you guys are doing that, because what a testimony to a mother and father's love and desire to have their children, to be that committed and to go through all of that. I know that that's a really emotional journey that the book will allow us to kind of delve into a little bit more. So I look forward to having you both on to talk about that. But again, Aikisha,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to say, the great thing about this is it's been therapy for us, because we tell in his perspective and my perspective. And I've learned a lot of how he was feeling and what he was thinking by reading and us writing this book. When I'm reading, because I'm reading Like, okay. Oh, you were doing what when my mom died? Like it's been therapeutic for us, but it was something that was needed. Yep. And I feel like people are going to go on this journey with us because I mean it's good.
Yeah, and you got one of those masculine. I mean, you know, football player. We don't see him engaging in some of we don't get a chance to really see his feelings as much because he's like that more stoic, guy. So I look forward to hearing, his perspective as a father and watching his wife, go through that. So we definitely can't wait to have you both back and to celebrate that book. But again, Aikisha, we love you on the show, love supporting you. And definitely excited about being able to share a little bit of this with our readers and that may be dealing with this and hosting conversation, holding space for this. So we appreciate it. We will definitely be looking forward to the Belle Collective season 4 every Friday at 8:00 Eastern, I think 7:00 Central. And you ladies keep ringing those bells because the public is definitely tuned in. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I love talking to you as always.
Yes. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Right. And I'll reach out to you later.
Yes. And don't forget to DM me about what you were talking about.
Trust me. As soon as we get out. Absolutely. Have a good one. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you have questions, we definitely have more on the site, lennoxandparker.com, where you can go. And if you have questions about a menopausal journey, like I said, I have some information to share with Aikisha, and I definitely would love to share that with you all as well. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation and gotten something from it. Leave us a comment and let us know how you feel about it. Make sure, like I said, that you're watching Belle Collective every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern on the OWN Network. This is Christal Jordan, and we'll be in touch. See you soon. Bye.